Crankk is redefining decentralized connectivity by merging LoRaWAN and blockchain through its unique proof of network participation model. Proudly built on the Cadena blockchain, Crankk paves an efficient and revolutionary road towards the future of decentralized infrastructure.
Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It is Saturday, November 9th, 2024. Today we are joined by Maksim from BrinxAI. On behalf of Crankk community, I'm doing an interview. We're going to discuss BrinxAI. Thank you to the audience for joining. If you have questions, please leave them in the chat and we'll get to your questions. Maksim, thank you for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you for calling me. I want to say hi to everyone and nice for meeting you, Joe.
Nice to meet you too. So can you give us a brief background on yourself, professional experience, and what you do at Brinx?
So I was involved in the crypto industry for a couple of years now, since the beginning of Bitcoin. And I always wanted to create like the deep technology that exists today. So it excites me a lot. And we are also deep in operators ourselves. So we host nodes for more than 20 different projects, including Crankk. And we just came to the conclusion that we want to build something unique, something that is ours, and something that people are really in need for.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit, get into some of the details when it comes to BrinxAI. When you say unique, I would ask, how does Brinx intend to distinguish itself from many of the other AI or decentralized compute projects in the Deepin ecosystem?
Yeah, so basically other projects that are in the AI and Deepin industry, basically they are providing like cloud computing services. So you can use that for your own needs, like machine learning and all of that. While we want to have that as one of our features, our main target is the everyday user. So people who are looking to generate images, generate text, get answer to their questions, upscale their videos, upscale their images, build websites, create audio, and all of that. We basically want to target those kind of people mostly. While we also want to provide API access to other projects, so to businesses, so they can build something on their own.
Excellent. So you would say that the target customer is both business to consumer and business to business, correct?
Yeah.
And I do see it on the website. You have a dashboard. I would assume for the business to consumer offerings and for people's needs that you've just outlined, that is where you would go to essentially utilize.
Not exactly. The current dashboard that we have is the workers dashboard, or let's call it the nodes dashboard. That's where you monitor the health of your worker nodes and your relay nodes. The main user dashboard, let's say, the toolbox, is coming in a week or so. Excellent. So that's where you will be able to generate images, generate text, and do all that kinds of things.
Okay, so this is a crypto Deepin project, but it is currently in testnet, and there's a lot of questions as to, have you decided on which layer 1 blockchain you will use, or are you leaning one way or another? Anything in particular?
Well,
you don't have to give specifics.
We thought of an EVM chain, so an Ethereum virtual machine compatible chain, like Base, let's say, or Polygon. While we prefer Ethereum to the top-notch security, we also have thoughts about the fees that our customers will have to pay. And we are still deciding on that. So it's either maybe base Polygon or maybe even peak. We are still deciding on that.
Excellent. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Peak in the easy to onboard. Yeah, there is always the concern of fees. There's also concern of some of the lesser known, even EVM compatible ones, lack the liquidity. So it's never an easy decision, and that's always something that uh, it's difficult for a project to decide in the first stages of launching. So just break down the tokenomics and allocation. I have some notes here, but the Brinx does have having an emissions every year, correct?
So the first halving happens after year one, and then it will happen another 2 times every 2 years.
Okay. And overall, 63% of token distribution is allocated to the community participants, the nodes. So 52% to worker nodes, 7% to relay nodes, 4% to the current testnet nodes. Then there is 9% to team and advisors, 14% to marketing and ecosystem development, and 14% to reserve fund allocation, which per the docs on the website looks like is going to decentralized and centralized exchange liquidity when that time comes. So overall, pretty, in my opinion, fair breakdown for distribution. Now,
So
go ahead.
in distribution, we mostly give most of the token allocation to worker nodes, since that is our main idea and our main objective, and we want to reward those people. And while we also want to offer privacy, since that is our number one priority, we also want to offer VPN services for our users, so they don't have to have their IP public, and content delivery network solutions in the end for bigger companies. The 4% of the testnet allocation, I think it's a pretty big chunk, but it's how we want to say thank you for those people who are joining now and help us build something from which is like a startup idea into an actual project. So yeah, regarding the 9% that goes to the team and advisors, we are thinking to cut that down even more, because we want to also thank people who are actually building the AI models. We are just basically taking something that already exists. So let's say like a source code that somebody made from GitHub, and we are building on that. And we want to also thank those people for doing what they did. Now for the marketing and ecosystem, that is a big amount, but it will be split into 5 years. So that is understandable. And the 14% that goes into the allocation for the DEX and the CEX, 4% of that will go into the initial liquidity on the DEX, and the rest will be split into like 2%, 1% for centralized exchanges.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a pretty detailed breakdown. Thank you for that. Now let's talk a little bit about nodes. So now that we have the basic understanding of what Brinx does in the reward system, there's many that are curious in the audience about running nodes. And there's 3 particular node types. We have the worker nodes, which are the ones that do the computational tasks. Currently, they're doing the computation through CPU, but there's going to be GPU support in the future, correct?
Yeah, that is coming very soon, together with the user dashboard that will have the toolbox, which will be the toolbox that we previously talked about.
Okay. And then there are the relay nodes, and this is the majority of what the Crankk offerings are as far as onboarding the nodes. These are
Mhm.
the decentralized VPN that you mentioned that we're going to go a little bit more into detail on that. And then you have a central node, and this is the workload distribution and network management. I don't,
Mhm.
it, I'm curious, is that one open to the public, or will it be
Uh,
open to the public in the future? Because there's nothing in the docs for setting it up.
yeah, so it will not be available to the public, but you can't really call us a centralized solution just for not giving it to the public, because
Mhm.
of how the reward distribution will be made. It has nothing to do with the central node itself. It has to do with the models that you will have turned on your worker node. The
Okay.
central
So,
node is just, it will be used for for a workload distribution.
mhm,
So for example, when you go into the user dashboard and let's say you want to generate an image, you basically are sending an API call to the central node, and then the central node has to see which of the worker nodes has stable diffusion enabled, and if he has that specific submodel enabled on the stable diffusion model, so like realistic vision, let's say, and only then it will pick the worker node that has those stuff available, and it will do the computation, the workload there, and send it all the way back to the end user.
so just to be clear for the audience, the central
Mhm.
nodes are not receiving tokens as of right
No,
now,
no, 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 nothing,
and
and
they probably won't
they
be in the
will never
future.
will.
So this is generally, if it's not rewarded, it's not a concern to the audience. But I did
Mhm.
receive a question from one person asking about the central nodes, so thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no
Now,
problem.
there was also something in the frequently asked questions area saying one node per IP address. And I want to get some clarity on this. I know early on when you're writing these docs, there's
Mhm.
some things that change, but this was another question from someone very interested in the project. And we're wondering if two different types of nodes could be run behind the same IP address. So
Yeah,
worker
that
and
is,
relay.
yeah, yeah, that should not be an issue. Uh, it's it will always stay the same for the relay node, so it will be one node per IP address. But in the future, there will be support for more worker nodes per IP address, because there we are not trying to get your like uh, digital identity, your IP. We are
Mhm.
trying to get the computational power that you have. That's what matters. So in the next update, there will also be that feature available where you can run more worker nodes per IP address on different ports. And we will also introduce DDNS support for those who have their IPs being changed. But that's just for the worker nodes. The relay nodes will still need to have a public static IP.
Excellent. Yeah, that does clear up that inquiry.
Mhm.
The other one we were kind of wondering is what are the typical tasks of the worker nodes? I assume it's dependent on if stable diffusion is enabled, as you said, but the computational power available and the other resources available. But as far as like kind of a business model, you mentioned what typical users of AI as business to consumers when we need to generate images, generate
Mhm.
text, or get answers on things. Is there any other use cases that come to mind specifically for Brinks? And on a follow-on question, are there any security concerns for individuals when running this?
Um, Well, for the security concerns, I don't think there's any at the current moment. And as I said before, security is our number one priority. So we will always keep it safe for the people. Currently, worker nodes, They provide tasks. They do tasks like image generation, like text generation, image background removal, and image and video upscaling. And we will constantly be adding more models. Maybe those models will not be used for specifically generation. They might be used for machine learning training. But just that's an idea for the future. Currently, our main focus is to add more generational models into the worker nodes.
Okay. And then the relay, the VPN nodes, can you elaborate a little bit on what that is used for? I know you mentioned
Cool.
privacy and CDN, where that is something that I've had multiple people ask me questions about. So take a moment to give us your thoughts and ideas behind it.
Mhm. So the relay node currently supports only one feature, which is the VPN service. And within time, we want to add the CDN ability. So let's say if there's a business that has a website, I don't know, maybe in Africa, we could cache their whole website in multiple locations. And when the end user is trying to reach that website, he will just get the cached version of the nearest node, relay node. I mean, that's it basically. We're going to build it for the VPN and CDN solution.
Yeah, and the kind of concern that I'm addressing here is if there's individuals wondering if this is going to be used as a decentralized VPN for customers, for general people. Do you see that being the
Yeah,
case?
the VPN services will mostly be used for the general public, so for everyone.
But when is it specifically CDN, or is it like if someone wanted to run a VPN on their phone or computer?
Well, I got your question. So you will be able to turn on and off the CDN function when that becomes available. So if you don't wanna participate in that kind of task, you basically turn it off. But currently, it's just the VPN.
Okay. And the other one was if that's going to be used for web scraping.
No.
Excellent. So yeah, and then you did elaborate on the CDN. Is there any other type of functionality you see from a CDN perspective being provided, or is that still kind of in the works and up for
It's
discussion?
still kind of in the works, so I can't tell you much about that. I can tell you that recently we got a few new developers brought into the project, so now everything should scale up more fast. And I think we will have something great to show to everyone in a very short time period.
Excellent. And I may have asked this question already, but for the testnet nodes, is a license required?
No, for the testnet nodes, the license is not required. It will be required before we go into the mainnet phase. So maybe in like a month or two from now. So currently it's free, and in a month or two you will need to buy a license to operate one.
Doomsday 13 asks, what's the hardware used for the nodes? For the worker nodes, there's minimum requirements on the website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Uh,
know, RG2.
8 vCPU cores, 16 gigabytes RAM, 300 gigabytes SSD, optional GPU, and then port forwarding. Recommended is 16 plus vCPU cores, 64 gigabytes RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and GPU NVIDIA RTX 2060 or higher. Retro Mike asks, is GPU CUDA only, or will it include support for AMD and Intel GPUs?
So during the alpha stage, it will only support NVIDIA GPUs, but in the future, we want to add support for AMD and Intel too.
Retro Mike also asks, is a VPN using OpenVPN or WireGuard spec?
It's using OpenVPN.
Excellent. So is there anything else that you want to cover or anything you want to speak specifically about with Brinx?
Nothing specific. I just wanted to let everyone know that soon we will have our multi-tool dashboard ready. So get prepared for that.
We do have a question from Cheru. Will there be a feature to connect a wallet in the future? I assume that will be in mainnet once
Yeah.
layer 1 has been chosen.
Yeah. In the future, you will need to connect your wallet to the worker node, because it will check if you have the NFT license on it or no.
But for the testnet phase, it's really you're accumulating points in the dashboard, which will then be awarded as tokens to those who supported the testnet phase, correct?
Yeah, those will be transitioned into mainnet tokens.
Excellent. And I did leave a link in the description, and it's I think it was a link tree for BrinxAI. If you were to go there, you can get all the links: Twitter, Discord, the website. So for those who want to get started or maybe have more questions, want more resources, I would suggest they join the Discord and speak with the community. But is there anything that you'd like to say on that point, Maksim?
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us on Discord. We are always there, and our team is always there to support you and guide you through.
There's one individual asking, what kind of AI tools will it have? If you'd like to re-elaborate.
Yeah, so basically the ready solution, not the alpha, will be capable of handling any type of task. Either that is image generation, either that is video generation, either that is text generation, either you want to build a website. We will make a model for that too, which will be a text generator model, which is pre-trained on JavaScript, and it will generate a template for you, and we will then be able to edit that template within the dashboard. So make it like a drag and drop solution for everyone to be able to make any type of website they want. So it will basically, it will be a tool set for everything. And that's our idea. So instead of going into 5-6 different centralized platforms to make one thing that you have to, you will just have a single decentralized solution for that.
Sharul asks, I just started running this node. Am I too late? It's
No,
in
you are not.
testnet, so you're very early.
Yeah. It's been only like 3.5 months since we started.
I was expecting more questions from the audience, and we've gotten through the agenda pretty quick here. So for the audience, if you have any other questions, please leave them in the chat. And I do want to discuss one idea that I had, but let me get to this question first. If I have other Docker containers running on the same system, can I run the worker node alongside it, or will it shut down all my other Docker containers like similar solutions do? I'm assuming he's referring to another project.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. It will not harm any existing Docker containers you have. So yeah, feel free to do that.
Excellent. Yeah, so I've been kind of brainstorming an idea over the past couple months, and for a day job, I'm a network engineer, is thinking about how you would test some of the certain rules that you put in through next generation firewalls, or from a ISP anti-DDoS protection mechanism, and how would you actually test that? And I kind of went down the line of, for like a business to business stress testing for networks content delivery. So for example, let's say your client has come up with a streaming solution, but you need to really emulate 100,000 people connecting at once, where those nodes, those endpoints are all over the world. They're much more distributed, and they emulate what typical demographics would be, as far as like residential IPs, potentially cellular IPs, different type of connectivity in different areas in the world. So I think that is, and you also mentioned CDN, so understanding how this traffic is being directed based on primarily DNS, but what path it's taking, and understanding certain behavior. So I kind of came up with all these use cases. This is the first time I'm really talking about it on cam, but it's a lot of it is centered around, I don't want to call it like web scraping, because it's certainly not that, but it's understanding the different happenings of any particular network. So, let's say, is there a DNS outage or a network outage particular to one specific geographic area, or is it specific to an ISP? Is there increased latency because of a specific high bandwidth event taking place? You could also look for like BGP path changes in the global routing table, those kinds of things. And then, of course, Cisco always tries to force feed everyone their it's called ThousandEyes solution, and it's as always a solution that they acquired, and now it's becoming more overpriced and mediocre. But the gist of it is, you can run it in a Docker container in your environment, or sometimes on your router, and you set up basically connectivity checks, and I believe you can opt in to some of their basic connectivity checks. But if you were to look at a ThousandEyes dashboard just in the general web, it's useful sometimes, because they tell you where outages are taking place with what ISPs, what DNS, and it's just very simple. DNS requests, GET requests, pings, and if you want to make basic type of connectivity checks outside of those, you can script that out. But that's all compiled into Cisco's database, and of course they're trying to work AI into it, where it's analyzing and coming to anomalies that are taking place globally. So I think that is something that, with your CDN model, feel free to see if you can work that into an idea. But
we will definitely take a note on that. As I mentioned before, we haven't thought so much of the CDN solution, so this is a feature that will come in later, but we will definitely take those key points that you gave us.
Yeah, and I was very excited to do this interview, because I thought of something similar. And when I looked at what Brinx is doing, the network architecture topology was much similar to what I thought of as well. But kudos to the Brinx team for coming up with something like this and making it happen. Yeah. So there's a couple other questions we'll get to here, and then we'll start to wrap up the stream. Cheryl writes, why did BrinxAI stop collaboration with BlockMesh?
BlockMesh was one of our earliest partners, and at one point everything just stopped working. We have tried to get contact of them, and looks like they just didn't have the time, so they had an issue with their CLI, with their BlockMesh CLI that we was using. It just stopped working, and then out of nowhere they put a limitation to 1 node per IP address, where we have users with maybe, I don't know, maybe like 30 nodes on their account. And like basically 29 of their BlockMesh nodes stopped working. And they just resisted to help us, the BlockMesh team, I mean. And that's why we ended the partnership.
Charo also asks, if I accidentally delete the node, can I recover the points that were deleted with it? Can I ask you to please direct this question into the Discord and get help? For detailed personal issues, I think it's
it's better to open
there.
a ticket, and we'll see if we can help you get back your points.
Looks like this is the final question from Seal. Is your support team available when I have a problem? I'm not sure if that's a tongue-in-cheek question.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if it's like a general question, you can feel free to use our general chat, and most of our community members will help you there. If you're having more technical difficulties, you can open a ticket. We have moderators. We have like 4 moderators and 5 administrators to help you at all times.
Excellent. Maksim, thank you so much for addressing the Crankk community and introducing BrinxAI to us. Much appreciated. Impressed on what the Brinx team is coming up with. And
thank you, Joe. It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. And, I'm sure we'll have you back
and I
in the
hope
future.
we can speak soon.
Sure thing. Yep. I'll speak to you after this. So I'm going to bring the stream to an end. To the Crankk community, thank you as always for being here. We try to do this. It depends on scheduling, but generally the first weekend of every month. Be sure to click the link below, join the BrinxAI Discord, and look for any announcements from both Brinx and Crankk. Once again, thank you, everyone.
See you guys. Bye.
All right. Have a great weekend.